Monica Rial.
I like it.
I am loving this aesthetic.
Why, thank you. This is called I Flew In This Morning. Normally I get here the night before, and this time, oh, I'm sinking. I love it. Normally I get here the night before, so
Right.
this is a little bit of like convention behind the scenes. We get to choose when we come in usually. So I like to come in the night before, get settled, have dinner, chill. But there wasn't a flight out Sunday night, so I can't leave till Monday. And I'm like, I can't miss 5 days of work. They'll come finding me. They'll come knock on my door and be like, we need your voice. I'm like, okay, sorry. So I got in this morning, and now I'm like, I realized why I come in the night before, because my poor handler was like, trying to keep my ADHD on track. She's like, your panel up, hurry up. I'm like, oh, sorry. So yeah, but thank you for your kind words too. He's fantastic. He actually saved our lives one time. He's not going to talk about it, but.
You know what? Next time we're in town and Christopher Sabat is here.
Chris has to be here for this story.
Yes. Next time we're here and Christopher Sabat is here, ask him about the Batman of Raleigh, okay? That's all
North
I will
Carolina.
say about that. He loves to tell that story, though.
Does he really?
He loves to tell the story.
Here's the thing. I love Christopher, and I'm totally chatting on him, but he expects it from me now. He loves to be the guy that's like, yeah, if anything ever goes down, I'm the guy you want to call. He is not that guy, because he'll freeze and just look at everybody like, what is going on?
Have you ever seen Christopher Sabat speechless? But in that moment,
he was totally, like, his face.
Everyone's like, what happened? Okay, so, all right.
I'm
So,
sorry.
we did have,
It's a
we
small group.
had somebody who actually jumped on stage during.
A pretty large panel. It was like,
yes,
and they jumped on stage, and we've never had this happen before. And it was very surreal, and we were all just kind of like, well, how do we handle this? And Milo was fantastic. He just worked his way over to the guy and was talking to him and just let him right off the stage and just out of the room. And it was like, bye. But that guy kept popping up all over.
Yeah.
Justin Briner and I went to dinner one night, and he was like outside the restaurant when we were like, oh no, it's the guy. He knows we're here. And we had to call, we called Mike, and he sent some bouncer guys down to walk me and Briner back from sushi. And then Justin Briner and I get into a lot of weird situations. Right. Then on the way out of the sushi restaurant, we walked in the middle of a knife fight. These two guys were about to like shank each other, and Justin Briner and I were like, dee, 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 right in the middle. You're like, I'm surprised we're alive, honestly.
I mean,
adventures and conventions.
Yeah, I mean, it almost seems like every time you go somewhere, it's got to be something, right?
Oh gosh, I mean, but that's part of the fun.
Right.
Like getting to travel and meet you guys, and then seeing you again, and then like the weird things that might happen or the weird experiences we all have together. That's what's so cool, because then like, 20 years from now, when I'm an old lady and you guys come to see me, and I can be like, remember the time in San Jose?
You mentioned, getting to meet people, and I mean, that's got to be the best part, right? Because when you go to your studio, right, and it's not even like you get to work with, it's not a round table. You just go, all right, now talk, and you go and you do it, and you're like, well, I wonder if people like that. And then you get to meet the people that liked that.
It's such a huge deal, especially coming from theater, because theater, it's automatic. Like, you perform, and people are like, yay, bravo, you're wonderful. And with anime, it was such a weird adjustment, and it was an ego adjustment, too, as an actor, to be like, okay, I need to get used to performing for the love of performance, not for the reaction that you get from the audience. So I started just pouring love into the actual characters and stuff, and I realized that it's a cyclical thing, because I pour my love into it, you guys feel that love and then exchange it by coming back to see me, and so where it's like the circle of life, but instead it's frog love. But yeah, meeting you guys is by far the best part.
and your characters are some of the best. And with that comes a lot of cosplay, right? How amazing is that to see those characters come alive that you bring alive with your voice?
It's so cool. I thought about this the other day because when you've done something as long as I have, I've been doing voice acting for 25 years, been going to cons for 23. So for me, it's like sometimes you forget how everything started, And so recently I was like, I had to go back and remind myself of like what those early days were like. And I remember that like I was one of the first voice actresses that went to cons. Like it was all dudes. And when you went to cons back then, it was all like middle-aged men that were like building Gundams. And that was it. That was the Anime Con. Like that was it. Maybe 25 dudes and some Gundams. And maybe a guy selling t-shirts in the corner. And that was it. Very different than what we experience now. But I remember thinking, man, I wish somebody would cosplay one of my characters. Because I never saw cosplay from the shows I was doing at the time. Because back then, you'd work on a show, and it took like a year for it to come out. And now I get to see it all the time, and it still just makes my heart so happy. It's like that girl that wanted to see a cosplayer, and her character is now like, they're everywhere, and I love it. Oh my gosh, I have so much fun. So much fun.
Now, you mentioned, going back and looking at where you came from. What are some of the, and people will be like, oh, Monica, she does this and this and this, and you go and you see the line, and everyone loves you because you're amazing. But what are some of those common like misconceptions about the voice acting industry?
Oh wow. Well, there's a lot, and it's constantly changing, like it's ever changing. But I think that the main thing that maybe now people get more, but back in the day it was really hard to explain to people. They just assumed that we went in there and like did the thing and everything was rushed and nobody cared and just slap a dub on it. Back in the day, we used to I spent 2 hours on the phone with John Bergmeyer arguing about the end of Tokyo Ghoul because I was adapting it. And he thought it should go the way of the translation. And I was like, I think the translation is wrong, and here's why. And 2 hours later, I convinced him. But that's the thing, is that we really cared, the care and the love that was put into it. Now, there's still care and love, but we're moving so fast that you don't have the time to really spend 2 hours on the phone with John Bergmeyer. So I kind of miss that aspect. I miss when we really spent time. But yeah, I think people just think that we, slap a dub on it. It's like, no, there's actually a lot of work that goes into it. Also, too, I think a lot of people assume that it's like a 9 to 5. Like, oh, that's the only thing you do. And it's like, well, actually, I do commercial work as well, voice acting, and that's what pays my bills. I do the anime and the video games because I love them, but they are not as financially rewarding, say, as it's kind of ridiculous, too, because I did a spot recently for something, and I literally had one line where I talked like this, and I got paid more than I think I got paid all year at Crunchyroll last year. I was like, well, there's that. So that is one thing that I also tell to anybody who's an aspiring voice actor. Don't pigeonhole yourself and say, I only want to do anime. Right. Do it all, because the more you do, the bigger your net that you cast, the better the chance that you're going to get a lot of fish.
Yeah, earlier today I had J. Michael Tatum right here on the stage.
I love him. I haven't even seen him yet.
And he was talking about, not just, voice acting, but doing other roles, do everything right. Get into ADR. Do you feel the same way? 100%,
because I wrote for a very long time. I did script adaptations. I directed, and I really feel like those two things made me become a better voice actor, especially directing, because we record individually, usually. Every once in a while, Walla or something, you might have a group of people, but usually it's just you and the director and the engineer. So getting to watch my fellow actors, I will never forget Todd Habercorn. I was directing Triple X Holic, and he was my lead, and I watched him in awe because he would do this thing where he would like go through and I'd have to scroll the script and he would just go. And then at the end, this crazy man would be like, number 87 and redo the line. Number 65 and redo it. And I'm like, how do you know what line you screwed up on and then you tell me to go? Whoop, brain just blown. So then I'm not really competitive, but a little bit. So I was like, I need to be as fast as Todd. I'm going to be as fast as Todd. And so I taught myself. And so now Todd and I are always like, so how many lines a minute are you? How many lines an hour? And I'm like, hey. But, yeah, I learned so much just by watching. It's the same reason that I still will take beginning acting classes because you learn just as much from the people in the class and the teachers than you would anywhere else. So. Oh, is it me?
No, I'm just listening.
I'm always afraid that Jamie's going to pop out of somewhere. I mean, in the best way.
No, I'm just, I mean, that's really good information.
Thanks.
And that's one thing that I love being up here because I get a firsthand education, you know, and I get to hear from so many people talk about it.
Oh, I bet, yeah.
And it's like, I have all the information, you know. And
you could write a book.
I probably
could write a book.
Speaking of writing, you said you did script fixing. Have you ever thought about writing your own show, and what would it maybe be about?
I have not thought about writing my own show yet. I have thought about, I'm toying with the idea of a line of children's books because I feel like I don't have kids myself, but I raised my stepson. And one of the things that I noticed is that a lot of the children's books are really, how do I say this? They're really soft on issues. So like they'll try to broach different things that exist in the world, and instead of being like, hey, this kiddo is autistic, and this is what this means, or hey, this kiddo, has an abusive family, and that's what that means. I had this idea just talking to my friends that I grew up with about having a group of kids, and then each book would focus on that child and whatever their thing was, whether it was, poverty, not having enough money, or if it was being a little different, being autistic and having ADHD, or whatever the quirk is, that they have, focusing on that, and then each of them having this kind of play world where they didn't have to worry about those things and come together. So that's something I'm kind of toying with, so keep an eye out in the future, but yeah.
I love that. Anybody else love that idea?
I just think kids are so much smarter than people give them credit for, and I'm like, I really would like to do something that speaks to kiddos, that explains things in a manner that is factual and realistic, but also sweet and kind, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I absolutely love that idea.
I could have. I know I could have. Oh my goodness. My goodness.
Now, when you were younger, you took dance, ballet, jazz. So what led you going from dance to theater?
Roller skating. We were just talking about roller skates backstage. Now I'm going to tell this story. I was on track to be a ballerina, and at 12, yes, that's when they decide whether or not you're going to be a professional ballerina. At 12 years old, I went to a birthday party, and my mom told me that I should not skate. I should be careful. I was like, I was great at skates. I've got this. Well, one of my friends was chasing me around, and at one point, he kind of jumped up and knocked me over, and I tore ligaments in my knee. And had to have surgery and all that. It was awful. But basically that means bye-bye ballerina career. Once you do that to your knee, there's really, and at 12, there's really no way. So imagine your life's dream being taken from you at 12 and then having to figure out, okay, what am I gonna do? Now, one thing I should tell you guys is back then, I had very severe social anxiety. I was not the Monica that you know today. I was very, very introverted, would barely speak. So there was a part of me that thought about, what do I enjoy about dance? Okay, I like to tell stories. I like to perform. I like to make people smile. And so I started thinking about the other stuff, and I thought about theater, but I was terrified. But I realized in going into theater classes and stuff that theater gave me the outlet to become the Monica I am today, because I found that I was okay to talking to people if I was a different character. If I was a different character, I could talk to anyone. So then I would take what I learned in my theater class and take it off the stage and be like, okay, today when I go into that math class, I am confident, cool Monica, and everybody is going to think I am just the most badass person in the room. And I would walk in there that way, and I'll be damned if it didn't work. And then if you start thinking that way, guess what? It happens. If you start going, I'm going to be out there, I'm going to be confident. I taught myself to be like this from that just after years and years and years of pretending. So basically, I faked it till I made it. And here we are. And now I am like, I'm 100% myself, because like I tell people, it's too hard to try to be somebody else. And I am one of those people that I'm like, you either love me or you hate me. So take it or leave it.
Take it.
Either way, if you're here for love, I've got plenty to give you. If you're not, bye.
So, by the way, who here has Heelys? Does anybody here have Heelys? We're talking about getting from one end of the convention center to the next. I don't know if I could, like, I know I would.
I would eat it, but I'd laugh the whole time.
Right. I don't know if they make Heelys. Do they make Heelys in adults? They do?
Oh.
Oh, okay.
Think I might be bringing you a present at the next just so we can both eat it on social media. That'll be great.
This is true. We'll make all the TikToks, make everybody's TikToks. As I mentioned, we do have a microphone right here. If you do have questions, feel free to start lining up.
And y'all can ask me about anything. It doesn't have to be about anime. Because seriously,
it could be
I
about
don't
anything. While folks start lining up, I'm going to ask you my favorite question to ask up here, and that is, while at a convention, whether it's in the green room, at the table next to you, across the way, have you had that fangirl moment where you either couldn't talk or maybe you said a little bit too much?
There are two experiences. So you guys should know that I didn't watch a lot of TV growing up or movies. So there's a big chunk of pop culture that I missed out on. So I was really great at these for the longest time because I didn't know who anybody was. So I'm like, oh, okay, cool. I don't know who you are. Then I went to a convention, and I was sat across from Ernie Hudson. And I was a huge Ghostbusters fan as a kid. And he was wearing the outfit and everything. So I went up to him and I was like, Mr. Hudson, I'm so sorry to bother you. My name is Monica. I'm right across the way. I just wanted to tell you, like, your movie was just so great. And I loved it so much. Every morning after that, he'd come in and he'd give me a little kiss on the head and he'd be like, well, good morning, Monica. How's your day? And I'm like, I love you. So that was one. The other one was I did have a big thing for Lost Boys back in the day. Like, I don't want my vampires to sparkle. I want them to be a little scary. I want them to hurt me. Step on me, daddy. But I was at a con. I never thought I'd meet any of those guys. And they just happened. Kiefer Sutherland and Jason Patrick, who are the two leads, just happened to sign up with the same convention agent that I have. And I told my convention agent, I was like, if you ever have Kiefer or Jason, I will die. So he came up to a con, and I just heard Gilbert, my agent. He was like, hey, Monica. And I look up, and there's Jason Patrick. And I'm like, hi. Like, I don't even know what to do. And then we went to dinner, and Kiefer Sutherland walked in. And that man walked around the table and shook hands with everybody and said, I'm Kiefer Sutherland. And I said, I know. I was like, Monica, get it together. But yeah, I've definitely had my moments, y'all. So whenever you're at the table going, I get it. Been there. Question.
Hello. What's your name?
Hi, I'm Alex.
Hi, Alex.
So Fairy Tail is one of my favorite anime of all time. And it made me so happy to hear you as Mira Jade once again after so long. I was so curious to know, what was it like to be back in that role after all these years?
So exciting. It's so awesome. I know that she hasn't done a whole lot yet, but I still have hopes for like another form, maybe something else. it's just so nice to be back. And I think it's a huge testament to the show that after all of these years, there were only 2 people that they weren't able to get back. And it wasn't because they didn't want to do it, it's because they had other circumstances. But everybody else returned, even if they haven't been working, you know, in anime since then. It's such a great show, and we're just all so happy to be back. But yeah, I'm hoping there's gonna be like a little bit more. I hope she gets her moment to shine, because I'm ready to sing and soul.
Can't wait. Thank you.
Thank you. Hello. What's your name?
My name's Charlie. I wrote it down. Give me a second. I wanted to ask about ghost stories and like that process. I mean, come on.
I forgot to bring I have a bag of Jesus.
Oh my God, seriously?
So, y'all know Temu, right?
Yeah.
It's a problem. And when they say shop like a billionaire, Monica thinks she's a billionaire. But they have these little Jesuses, and they're super cute. And so I ordered them just like to see what they look like, and now I pass them out at conventions to anybody who asks about ghost stories. So come get a Jesus tomorrow.
I'm not gonna be here tomorrow. I'm so sorry.
Next time I see you,
okay, yeah.
I owe you a Jesus.
Okay.
That's such a weird thing to say. But yes, go ahead.
My question was like, what was like that process like? I was watching with some friends, and it was like really funny. But like, was there creative liberty for the voice actress and the actors and stuff? And like how did that work?
100%. So it was a rare situation. I don't know that this will ever happen again. So back in the day, when you licensed a show, say you wanted to get like a big show like Demon Slayer. In order to get Demon Slayer, the company would be like, okay, we'll sell you that. But you have to take these 4 other crappy anime that nobody wants, too. And so they'd make you pay for that because you want the big one. Yeah. Ghost Stories was one of those that was tacked onto some show that they had already gotten, and I don't think that they were going to dub it. But Stephen Foster, the director, had this dream for years, because if you're old enough, like me, when we grew up on the television on Saturday afternoons, the only thing to watch were badly dubbed kung fu movies. And so there's a whole Generation X that just grew up on badly dubbed kung fu movies. So Stephen had this idea to do a ridiculous dub. He didn't know to what extent. So when Ghost Stories came around and it wasn't doing well, Stephen was like, this is the one. I think this is the one. I can finally do it. So he watched the whole show and did like an outline kind of like, here are the things that we have to hit. Like there's a mom, there's a this, there's a that. It was translated, but he threw that out. He had it there in case there was something that we didn't understand that was going on, like, hey, what's happening in the scene? But we very rarely, if ever, looked at it. And then from there, it was literally us making it up as we went along. So sometimes it would be Stephen being like, hey, I have an idea, say this. Or sometimes it was us. And I always say it's true. Momoko, the reason she's so random is because I was always the last one to record. I could never, you wanted to be the first one in so you could get your jokes in. And I was always the last one, so I'm like, Jesus, I don't know what else to say. So she ended up being really, really random. But what's even crazier is we didn't audition. So Stephen just cast the people he knew were crazy enough to go along with it. Yeah. And he's like, okay. And I walk in and I'm like, what are we doing? He's like, oh, explains what we're doing. And he's like, okay, so in the original, your character is like this psychic, this ethereal psychic. But I want you to be this really devout, born-again Christian. And I'm like, oh. And he's like, what? I'm like, I'm not really religious. And he's like, it's okay, I've got a Bible right here. And I'm like, all right. So everybody would laugh because they'd be walking by the studio on a break, and I'm like, nose in a Bible. Like, hi. Like, what are you doing? I'm like, looking for lines. I went as a kid, but like there were moments where he'd be like, okay, here I want you to say the Lord's Prayer. And I'm like, cool. And he's like, you were such a heathen. And I'm like, well, you're the one that cast me. As just wasn't like, hey, I know. My favorite was, I didn't realize that this was a scripture, and this is going to age me, but he's like, okay, so here I want you to say the scripture about as I walk through the valley of the shadow of death. And I was like, I take a look at my life and realize there's nothing left. And he's like, did you just Coolio me? And I'm like, I didn't know it was scripture. I thought it was Coolio. Yeah,
that's fair though.
My mom is probably somewhere just like, oh my God. I was raised with a Southern Baptist mother and a Roman Catholic father. It was just not meant to be. I'm agnostic. I'm sure there's something out there. But yeah, I'm not Momoko at all.
Yeah, okay.
Thank you for your question, though.
Thank you.
Yes, and I owe you a Jesus.
Hello.
Hello.
What's your name?
My name's Steven.
Hi, Steven.
I want to add, I just want to say thank you, Monica, for everything.
Oh, gosh,
And-
thank you, Steven.
Yep, and ever since 2010. And so I want to ask a just two-part question relating to Dragon Ball. So
Sure.
I always like to know, first part of the question is, what's your favorite Bulma moment from any series? And are you excited for the future for Dragon Ball, like Daima, for example?
I'm super stoked about Daima. I know a lot of people, when we announced it, were like, it's not super. I'm like, I know, but it's its own little thing, you know? And I love that it's Dragon Ball Muppet Babies is what I keep calling it. And I think it looks adorable. So I'm super excited to see. And this is Monica, not Crunchyroll or Toei, but I can't imagine that Dragon Ball Super won't come back at some point. I think they're just waiting for the right time. And they kind of like toying with you guys a little bit. I'm not gonna lie. So just keep an eye out, because I'm sure there will be more. As far as Bulma, oh my gosh. There's so much that I love. Like, I loved the Boo saga, because there's some really dark stuff that happens there, and that's when I really felt like I could really dig in and get in there. I love the movies. Man, giving the Lord of Destruction my baby and being like, bye, I'm going with these guys. Take care, Beerus, have fun. Like, she's insane. Telling Frieza, like, oh, you're ugly. Like, what are you doing, woman? But it's fantastic. Like, they've turned her into this really strong, independent woman, and I'm so glad she didn't get sidelined like poor Chi-Chi and Videl. She's still out there doing the thing, and she can't even fight. Well, I mean, she's feisty, but... But I'm excited to see what happens, and I'm super stoked. The last movie was so much fun, and she's gotten so funny. She's got so much humor. I just can't wait to see what they continue to do with her.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Hello.
Hi, your
Hi.
cosplay is awesome.
Thank you so much. My name is Rose. It's nice to meet you both. Thank you so much for coming to GalaxyCon. It's great to have you here in San Jose. Just a personal anecdote, Oran High School Host Club was one of my very first anime that I watched. That was my intro to anime, so thank you for your fun performance as Renge.
Thank you.
This is a question that, we've been asking a lot of One Piece voice actors about their characters, is if your character in One Piece were an ice cream flavor, what flavor do you think they would be?
Ooh, this is fun because I've got 4. So let's see. Okay, I'm going to ask you a question. If you thought of, is there a sad ice cream flavor? What would a sad ice cream flavor be? Oh, y'all, I love pistachio. All right, but since it's the crew, since we've decided pistachio is the sad flavor, that would be Queena, because that's kind of dark. Tashigi. I feel like Tashigi would have to be something purple. So maybe like a strawberry, but like with big chunks of berry, because she's a mess in the best way. Karu would have to be... This is going to be really random, but there's an ice cream place by us that has the corn flavor, Texas, y'all, corn flavor ice cream, and it's gross, but it's bright yellow, so that reminds me of Karu. And then I play Compote, one of Big Charlotte's children, and I feel like her flavor would be, isn't there like what is the one that has all of the different,
Neapolitan?
Not Neapolitan, the one with the sherbet that has, Rainbow sherbet. Yes. Ha! Because she's got all the flavors. Good question, though. That's
Excellent
fun.
answer. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello.
Hello again.
Hi.
In the episode where everybody's like, what song are we going to do for the theme or whatever? So he says, let's do the frog song. And they're like, oh, okay, I guess that's like a little kid song or whatever. Seasons later, in season 6, which I just finished, everybody's crying. This guy is crying like, no, Dark Deku, don't do it, until his boyfriend talks some sense into him. I was still thinking, what's the frog song? And would it be a song by Kermit the Frog here?
So normally when I answer this question, I would say that, like, people will ask, like, what's Suyu's favorite song? And I'm like, it's not easy being green. That's her favorite song. But I will say I have a friend, and he's phenomenal. His name is Game Boy Jones. And if you guys don't know Game Boy, he is fantastic. He does covers of anime songs and stuff, and a lot of times he'll do them in English, and then he makes up his own song. So he has a song about Uraraka, but then he has a song called Hip Hop Froppy, and it's stinking adorable. And it's like a hip, hop, hip. It's so cute. So that's the frog song.
Of course, it's a hip hop song. Thank you.
You have to check it out, y'all. He's so good.
Hello.
Hey.
Hi, my name is Cloud. I was wondering, how excited are you to be revising your role as Stalking after so long?
So here's the thing. It's not for sure because we don't know. Like, Trigger has been like, we're doing the thing for 3 years in a row. And Jamie and I are like, yes, do the thing. Hurry up. But it's so weird. So now, God, we hope we get to do it because it would be so sad if we didn't. But because it was created at Gainax, and Gainax no longer exists-ish, or I think they're going out of business, but Funimation no longer exists. So it's like, well, who has the contract now? But I think Panty and Stalking is on Crunchyroll, so there's some kind of connection. Also, too, our dub was on the Japanese Blu-ray release. So not only are we the English Panty and Stalking to you guys, we're the English Panty and Stalking to Japan. So I feel like that might give us an in. Jamie and I are super stoked, but we don't want to get too excited just in case, like, it goes somewhere else, or I hope not. I will find out who's working on it, and I will burn their house down if they don't. I'm totally kidding. But I will definitely, like, go and be like, please. I think Jamie and I are going to, like, really, really go out there and not burn houses down, but really go out there and plead if it doesn't go to Crunchyroll, because it just wouldn't be the same. And honestly, I would feel bad for whatever actresses had to follow the role, because, like, it wouldn't be the same. And
It's a very iconic role.
It's so crazy that it's now, what? It's been like 11, 12 years, and it's like just as popular as it was back then, if not more so. So we are very excited. I'm fingers crossed.
Me too.
Thank you so much.
Thank
Cloud.
you.
Hi.
Hello, what's your name?
Hello, my name is Santiago.
Hi, Santiago.
Hola, Santiago. That is the name of my tío también.
Oh, gracias. I've been like watching anime like for like, got back to anime in 2012, and hearing your voice, like so many animes, like, you know, the hundreds, like, well, there was like a two-part way, like, of all the characters, what was your favorite? And the second one is, of all, like, you've done voices, have you ever had like an improv, like, or like a dialogue that you just said that wasn't in the script?
Ooh, good questions. Okay, so as far as the favorite, I suck at picking favorite anything. Jamie says it's because I'm a Libra. I don't know what that means, but she does. But I am so bad at picking. Also, too, I feel like as an actor, if I don't love every single one of my characters, you guys will know. Because I tell aspiring voice actors this all the time. You can lie on stage. You can lie on film. You cannot lie to a microphone. If you don't feel it, everybody that's listening is going to be able to hear it. So it's kind of hard for me to pick a favorite baby, because they really are like your children. I will say that the characters that you spend the most time with, so like your Frappies, your Mira Janes, your Bulmas, like those are the ones, especially Bulma. I feel like we've grown up together, I mean, honestly. So you're much closer to them, but that doesn't mean, like, there's other characters like Tanya and the Saga of Tanya the Evil that I adored. So it just kind of depends. I will say now, because there's so many younger actors that have come in that can do all the different voices, now I'm having a lot of fun getting to play and do voices that are totally different than my own, and that I really dig.
So, like, being able to do Froppy,
or like Mara Leona, like doing things that are like totally outside of my norm. That kind of stuff I dig now. And then the other question was,
like, have you ever like an improv, like, what done in the script?
We improv all the time. We used to do something called bombs back when we had time. We would like leave little like joke lines in there. David and I did it recently for, oh my God, my death ability is so overpowered, followed by 38 words. But we did some bombs for that, and that was kind of funny. But I can't think of, except for all of Ghost Stories, and I'm sure in Panty and Stalking there was some. The only thing that I can think of off the top of my head that I improv'd was in the diet episode of Panty and Stalking has a laugh where she's like screaming at Chuck for eating her donut and all that. And I had her do the Renge laugh as kind of a nod to the anime fans to be like, I wonder if anybody will notice that it's Stalking doing the Renge laugh. And even Colleen was like, is that the, and I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna leave a little bitty thing in there for all my anime fans to be like, Renge. So yeah.
Thank you. It's an honor to meet you.
Thank you, Santiago. That shirt still makes me so happy.
Hi, Monica.
Hi.
My name's Charlie, in case you were wondering.
Sorry, Milo. Charlie.
I have a general question for you.
Yes.
So I know in the early days of anime, you used to be a hairstylist.
Yes.
Did you ever have somebody make an appointment with you, and maybe they didn't necessarily know who you were at first, but then when you started chatting with the customers and telling them about what you do, they had the epiphany, and they were like, oh, you're Monica Rial. I loved you in Gasaraki or whatever.
I think I do. I had people that, because I usually didn't tell people at the salon what I did. So back in the early days, back when fades, like the really high tight fades were very popular, I was so good at them. I'm not gonna lie. Like my brother wore fades, so I was able to practice a lot. So if you came to my salon on a Saturday, the room in front would be full of dudes, and it was literally me. Everybody else would be sitting around filing their nails, and I'm like, and chatting, but like quick. So I never really talked to them about anime much, but I did have a lady come in one time, and she and I got to talking. She's like, you look so familiar. And it turns out she'd gone to a convention. She'd gone to like A-Con or something and had seen me in passing. And she is still a dear friend of mine. Like I was cutting her hair. I was taking her, I was like, hey, bring your kids to the convention. Here's tickets. So I'm still in touch with a few people that I used to cut their hair. And then I realized they were anime fans either after or while. And now we're still in touch. So yeah, there are people that, and I still cut hair that I used to for a while at Funimation. I did something called Monty Cuts.
Oh.
Where I'd find a little corner and I'd cut like Mike McFarlane's hair and Justin Cook's hair and just sit there and do my thing and chat with everybody. It was a lot of fun.
Thank you.
Thank you, Charlie. Hey.
Hello.
Hi, my name is Brooke, and I was just wondering, what made you realize you can do so many different voices?
This is going to sound like child abuse. It's not. No. My dad, okay. So my dad is from Spain, and Spanish fathers, am I right? Anybody? Like any kind of Hispanic fathers, they're very hardcore, and we love them. But I always have had a very high voice, and my dad would always be like, Monica, that is not your real voice. Talk to me with your real voice. And I'd be like, okay, Dad, here you go. And like overdo it just to be ridiculous. I didn't realize when I was doing that as a child that I was actually priming my vocal cords to be able to do that as an adult. So all of that joking with my dad where I'd be like, oh, blah, blah, blah. Actually, when I went to high school, my choir teacher didn't know where to put me because he's like, you can hit like the super high soprano notes, but you can also hit the bottom of the tenor. Like you're borderline bass. What's going on here? And I'm like, who knew that Dad was actually helping me out all those years? So yeah, I kind of taught myself. And honestly, there's a lot of like voice teachers that will tell you that you can't change your voice. Absolutely not. I disagree with that 100% because I know it's true. If you look at interviews with me, like early days of ADV, my voice is not quite as high. Because what happened is I went to work for Funimation, and they didn't have a high-pitched voice. So I played like every little girl in every anime for like 6 years. So when you talk like this for like 6 years, like your voice just automatically kind of goes up into the stratosphere. And so I'm just now starting to come back down. But yeah, you can definitely, there's an app that I love that is a warm-up app where you can choose your starting note and your ending note. And so what I would do once I started voice acting is I would push that lower note a little bit and push the higher note, and then just until that got comfortable, and then push it a little bit more and push it a little more. And I swear to you, I'm living proof that that works. So just because you have the voice you have now doesn't mean that you can't affect it in some way.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Of course.
Hello. Last question. No pressure.
Yeah, last question again. I want to ask the last question. I had this in my head for so long, from Z-Kai all the way to Super, and even to like the movies as well. I want to ask, this might be really mind-blowing, but what's your favorite Bulma and Vegeta scenes? Or moment, anything?
Y'all, my favorite is That's My Bulma. That moment. Can I just tell you, when we went to Battle of Gods and we did a premiere, I didn't go to the big premiere in LA, but we had a premiere in Dallas. And I had not seen the full movie. I knew peripherally because the fans had been like, but I hadn't seen it. And Chris was sitting on the other side of the theater, and I saw that moment where he's just, my Bulma, blah. I teared up. Because it was the first time that stinking dude had showed any kind of love. And I texted Chris in the middle of the movie, and I'm like, it's about damn time. But it was really great because, like, Chris and I had even joked at one point about possibly doing, like, a Bulma and Vegeta wedding at a convention just to give you guys closure, just to be like, see, they do love each other. But luckily, Super came along, and then we got to see more of their relationship. I know a lot of people don't like the bingo thing in Battle of Gods, but I love it because that shows that Vegeta is willing to look like an idiot to save his family. And we never saw that from him before. So I love that in Super, he's kind of become a little bit of a softie. Just a little. Not enough, but he's working his way up to better daddom. He's not quite at Piccolo level yet, but he's getting there. Better than Goku. But yeah, that's my Bulma is by far my favorite.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Of course. Thank you.
You have any last words for the fine folks of San Jose and surrounding areas?
You guys are awesome. Yeah, people have traveled from all over. I met a young man earlier that was from Southern Indiana. I'm like, I was not expecting that. So you guys, thanks for coming to see me. Thanks for waiting in lines. I know that my lines sometimes can be a little crazy, but it's because I actually like to talk to you guys and meet you and hopefully get to remember you so that the next time I see you, I can be like, hey. But thank you for your patience for that. Also, if you guys are on Instagram or TikTok, I have been severely missing. I've had kind of a crappy year, but it's getting better. So just keep an eye out because I've got a lot of really fun stuff planned for my TikTok and Insta, a lot of behind-the-scenes stuff and more about, you know, what we do day to day. So keep an eye out.